Good morning, Rabbi Isai. How's everybody doing? Shalom Aleichem. We have some guests. Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Today's Shiur is being sponsored, Lili Nishmatim Mirosi, Basur Mordechai, sponsored anonymously in honor of Reb Eli, just because he's amazing. I guess I shouldn't have printed the next thing, from Binyamin Schwartz. It's anonymous. No anonymous, Rabbi Isai. I don't do anonymous. You do anonymous, this is how I'm going to blow up your name. What? In memory of Menachem Mendel Ben Simcha. Listen, you can't exaggerate. The guy said, "Don't say my name," and I got this. I printed out what I got. This is what Yosef sent me. It says here from Binyamin Schwartz. I don't know if you want me to print it or not. It says anonymous. I don't care. Binyamin Schwartz, you're not anonymous. That's it. You got to come out of your shell. In memory of Menachem Mendel Ben Simcha, sponsored by Shiur Greenfeld. Nachamol. It's unbelievable. He was the last month's sponsor of Turning the Daf, and he's missing it because he sponsored last week for some grandfather, grandmother. And here again, sponsored by Shiur Greenfeld, Zech the Nishmas Asher Zelig Ben Yikusil Yehuda, maternal grandfather, Tesvav Elul. Shkoyach, the Neshama should have an aliyah, and Mr. Anonymous should have a tremendous amount of atzlacha. Here's an email from Mr. Anonymous, Ben Schwartz. It says, "Dear Reb Eli and team, thank you, thank you, thank you." This doesn't say not to read his name, but I figured it's better to read the email today on the day that he's sponsoring. It's only because of this amazing team that I'm finally learning Gemara daily, 9 months strong. Wow. It's unbelievable. No? Let me read again. Shkoyach. The live audience. It's only because of this amazing thing that I'm finally learning Gemara daily. Daily. Now again, Binyamin Schwartz is a dentist. And his wife told my daughter that since starting with the Shiur, his wife shops out this time. He watches it on Zoom at night. No patience for a full hour. You cannot get into his office. It's unbelievable. I realize that the MDY team is like a well-oiled aircraft. Reb Eli is the pilot that is in charge of actually flying the airplane. However, I like pilots. However, he has his cohort of co-pilots, flight engineers, navigators, and air traffic controllers that work seamlessly in the background to make certain that the flight is as smooth as possible. Thank you to Reb Eli for your interactive, enlightening, and most enjoyable Daf Yomi Shiur. Yehoshua! Shkoyach, Rabbi Yeshua, get over here. You don't have in the beer. Shkoyach. Yeshua, for your constant checking in on us and your words of encouragement and reminders and moving the Lili Nishmas and Binyamin's thing in the right place. Yosef, for your smiling face, always shining through on Zoom while you're simultaneously working on the 8-minute and never actually sleeping. Gary, for doing all the tech stuff behind the scenes and for making sure to mute us all in mid-sentence. And everyone else that works tirelessly. I don't know, when you're on Zoom and you're having this geschmacky conversation with the Olam, all of a sudden goes dead because Shiur starting. He doesn't give any warning. That's what he's talking about. And Noam and Avi and Mordechai Seltzer and Nachman Seltzer. You want to see it's written over here? And not to forget the wonderful MDY family that loves to bicker with each other on WhatsApp all hours of the day and night, just like a true family. I truly cannot say it enough times. Thank you, Reb Binyamin. I added the Reb. Now, Rabbi, I want to tell you this real quickly. We still have a little time here. Eretz Yisrael, it was Reb Bernard David's granddaughter. His first granddaughter got married, and he couldn't attend the wedding, unfortunately, because of COVID. Left on YouTube chat, on the MDY WhatsApp chat. The next morning I wake up and I had 46 plus messages from 46 different people just from the Chevra, MDY Chevra. And even 3 WhatsApp video calls from members of MDY that I've never met. I've never felt such camaraderie in all of my simchas in the past. It's such a beautiful feeling to have such close friends from all 4 corners of the world joining in with our simcha. And the credit goes to the commander-in-chief, brought us all together only because of Torah. It's an unbelievable camaraderie that we have through Torah. It's unbelievable. This brought tears to my eyes when I read this. Thank you, Rebelli. Here's a picture of Rabbi Yisrael and Shlomi Klein from Crown Heights that showed up to the wedding. People that didn't know each other beforehand. Here they are. Screen sharing. Okay. Beautiful. All right. We're holding today's Daf Chavav. And we are holding, by the way, I want to tell you something very interesting. I think today, we're going live today, Gary? There's a beautiful, beautiful feature that's going to change. It's a game changer. On YouTube and on Torah Anytime and all these other platforms, the Shiur is going to have the screen sharing on the screen. In other words, if I show this picture, this is going to take up the entire screen digitally, not me holding it and this and that. And we're going to have Menachem Atel, wherever it is in charge at that point, pointing. As I'm talking, I'm going to be in a little tight. It's a real game changer. Mamish, it changes the whole thing. As you watch the Shiur, it's a lot clearer. It's a lot. So hopefully that technology is going to work on YouTube as well. We're trying it out today. Let us know if the quality is a little off. We think we're going to lose a little quality, but it's kedai for the picture sharing. Ahi Avaranko. So we're dealing with a gazebo. I don't like saying this word. It's a tough word. So we'll just call it a gazebo. The Havel Reish Gulusa Bebustane. Here's the picture. The Reish Golos, the other day we had a beautiful picture from, this is also from Kamal Hashem, but he gave him a nice palace. Today he gave him a little shvacha house, but a beautiful orchard. This orchard is more than 2 saw, and it's hukaf shaloi ledira. In other words, it's surrounded with fences for non-residential use. And in the center, there's a beautiful gazebo, aberanko, whatever you want to call it. This came afterwards. So, he was mukaf ledira, shaloi ledira, more than 2 saw, you cannot carry in here. Then he went and he built a gazebo, the Reish Golos. It's a gazebo built around a tree, but it's done for sale. No, it's not a tree. It's a gazebo. I'm calling it a gazebo. Call it whatever you want. It's a nice place, a nice shady place, with trees, without trees. In the picture, he does a nice job. He puts a tree in the center of it. He built it around the tree. The point is, he built some structure. It's not a tree. He had to build something to make it l'shem dira for residential use. Amalei l'Rav Huna bar Chinan, the Reish Golos, whoever he was at the time, usually chashav a person, he was the leader of Klal Yisrael. He tells Rav Huna bar Chinan, Li Eved Marta Kanto, I need you to fix my backyard, my orchard. Now, if you want to see Pshat and Rashi in the Sugya, do not look at the Rashi right here on the page. You have to look on the Chavav and Aleph towards below where the Gemara ends. Below, like 3 lines, it's going to say Ubechuvas Haga'onim, and over there he gives the Pshat that he prefers, and that's how we're rolling here. So the Reish Golos has a beautiful orchard. He wants to make a little picnic on Shabbos, and he tells Rav Huna, I need you to fix it up for me. I want to carry my keys. I want to carry my stuff over there. What do I do? Ozal ovad kone pachis mishloishom. So he goes ahead and he fixes it by putting a fence that you can walk through. You can see it here in this picture, Gary. Here's the fence. He makes a little fence, kana every less than 3 tfachim. Let's see if you can do it with the remote control standing up. Oh, very nice. Although, I don't know, I can't see it so well. Kana, right over here where my finger is. They can see it? Okay. Oh, Menachem Ateh has it better. It's actually better. And that's how it should. Well, I'm too big, I think. When you show the picture, Menachem, oh, that's better. Yeah, okay. On that screen. In other words, Rav Huna holds that it's also to carry in this bustana, in this orchard, and Memela, he made a serious fence on both sides, halachic fence. Azal Rava, Shalfinu. Comes Rava and he removes it. Riddle. Does anybody remember in this Masechta where we had something very similar? In the Rosh Golos' house, somebody did something and then somebody took it apart. You remember? It rings a bell. On Daf Yomi Amud Beis, we had a very similar situation where. Oh, very good. Nachman Seltzer remembers the end of the story. They put him in jail. Remember, they put him in jail, and he said, "God the Puk." I'll just remind you real quickly. There was a Tzuras HaPesach, a jam that didn't reach the top. The jams didn't reach the header. And that's how Rav Nachman did it. I think it was Rav Nachman. And then Rav Sheshes sent his Talmud, Goda, to take it apart, and they threw Goda in jail. And then Rav Sheshes says, God the Puk, come out. So they realized it's Rav Sheshes. And then they proved to Rav Sheshes that he was wrong, and Rav Sheshes was embarrassed. He said, don't tell anybody that I made a mistake. Let me admit my mistake myself. Shalom Aleichem. So it's interesting. You know, people are busy with the Rosh Golos' property, fixing it, and then people are going to learn from it, so they take down the fix. Same exact thing here. Shalfinu. And it's interesting that he made a mistake, the same mistake that Rav Sheshes made. Rava made a mistake here as well. Also, Rava Shalfinu. Rava didn't like this. Rava holds that you're allowed to carry in the orchard. Why? Because there's an avranka, there's a gazebo, and the gazebo was built for residential use. So in Mela, the whole orchard becomes residential. I realized, again, going back to Rabbi Pessin, Rabbi Pessin is the Mechaber. He's a very, very chashuv person, a big honav in our neighborhood. Everybody loves him. And the Mechaber is safe every 3 months, etc. So I went with him to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky calls him Oisin Pasin. That's how he calls him. Because of this parak. Just every time I see it, like now I understand what he's talking about. I didn't really chap. Oisin Pasin. I knew it's something in learning. I didn't realize. Okay. Parak Oisin Pasin. Reb Pessin, Oisin Pasin. I'll go on. So Oza Rav Papa v'Rav Huna b'Reder Rav Yeshua. Rav Papa and Rav Huna, who were Talmidim of Rava, they wanted to help the Rebbe out. So as the Rebbe is pulling out these sticks from the ground, they come and gather the sticks and make sure that nobody could get their hand on it, so that they will they won't be able to rebuild the fence. L'machar, not at the same time. The following day, Rava gets bombarded with a bunch of questions. They were helping Rava. Rav Huna and is this Talmud of Rava. Rav Papa is the Talmud of Rava. They helped Rava. They just took the wood and they took it somewhere else. They hid it so nobody could do anything with it. So Rava is in big trouble here because he got bombarded with 3 different questions, which forced him to retract his shita. What's question number 1? You have, look at this picture, Rabbi said, this exists even today. You have a walled city. It's real. It's not a painting. This is a real thing in Europe. Yeah. Castles, the whole deal. You have a walled city. Now, on Shabbos, you can only walk from the edge of the city 2,000 amas. Where do you start it? From the blue arrow, you start walking 2,000 amas. However, if it's chadasha, if it's ir chadasha, then moedim lo miyishivasa. You can only carry from where the red arrow is, from the last house in town. So it could be a nice distance. You're talking about 100 feet, whatever it is in this case. Either it's from the end of the last house or the end of the wall on the other side of the wall. So the Gemara says, if I skip words, I don't have my thing here. Let's use a mask. Let's see if the mask works. Oh, mask is beautiful. What's considered new? What does it say here? That if I built this wall, I built a wall. And after I built the wall, I built a bunch of houses inside. That's chadasha. In other words, I don't count the wall. If it's Yishana, I count the wall, I go from the wall. I can walk from the wall on, 2,000 amma. But I'm not counting the wall. In my mind, the wall doesn't exist. Why? Because you built the wall and then you built the city. That's not how you do it. So too by us, you built a wall around my orchard and then you build a gazebo inside. Shalom Aleichem. You can't change the gazebo status, the wall status after you build a gazebo. Doesn't work like that. You build a wall, shaloi l'diurim, you have to knock down the wall, we said. 10 amas, whatever. Can't build something new in it and say, oh, now put a swing set and say, oh, it's l'diurim. Doesn't work like that. That's the kasha number one. No, the opposite. The wall was there already, then he built a gazebo. Building a gazebo after you have a wall is not going to change the status of the wall. You can't make a mukaf, shaloi l'dira, to mukaf l'dira by building a gazebo inside. The wall doesn't work in that case. Yishana, what's an old wall, old city, Yashva, you built houses, you built a gazebo, and then you build a fence around it, you build a kaisel around it. In our case, first he built a wall around his orchard to protect his fruit, and then he built a gazebo. It's not good. Rav Papa, the one who's picking up the sticks behind his Rebbe, comes to Rava, and he's going to get it over the head in a second. If I build a wall for the employees, the guys, the workers in the street, so the sun doesn't hit them, it's a temporary wall. It's not considered a mechitza in order to divide properties and say this is mukav l'dira, not mukav l'dira. It doesn't work. So you see, something that's for tznius is not considered a mechitza, just to protect so people don't see. That's not considered a mechitza. Hachinami. So too in our gazebo, given the tznius avida, they have a mechitza. It shouldn't be a proper mechitza, even if you hold that you could make a wall and then build a gazebo, and it would change the status of the whole entire campus over there. But these are not real walls. If you built a real building in there, great. But you built a gazebo, which is only to protect people from seeing what you're doing, that's not considered a mechitza. That's question number 2. And then Rav Huna, the second stick picker-upper, he asks Rava of Rav Huna, anytime you have a mechitza. That's just to protect your storage, not considered a mechitza. Oh. So this is mechitza. This is a picture of mechitza. You have different neighborhoods here. Now, theoretically, what Rabba should have done, Rabbi Barvua, he wanted to make an Eruv for mechitza. He should have made one Eruv for the entire mechitza. Why? Take a look. It's completely enclosed. Door here, wherever the red X is. I'll tell you in a second why there's a red X, but there's doors everywhere. So this is one entire city, one Eruv. No. He went around in every box, every little neighborhood, he put an Eruv. Why? This is a very interesting city. In the Mavui, this is a Mavui Mafulash. You see his Rosh Hashanah, on top is Rosh Hashanah. So this Mavui goes through and through. So this Mavui Mafulash wouldn't help to just put a door over here like that. Why? Because in the Mavui Mafulash, they put a bunch of date pits. That's what the oxen, they like to eat dates. The pits of the date. Terrible food. Rashi actually says somewhere else that it's not the real food of an ox. If you don't have it. So they have like gas stations throughout the entire mechayza. You bring your ox, he eats wherever he goes. He goes through the Mavui, eats. Now, in order to protect the dates, the pits of the date, they built these walls right over here at the end. These are not true walls. If they were built to protect the city, then you would make one Eruv in the entire city. But since that's why I put an X here. These are not real walls. So pretend that these walls don't exist. What do you have? You have a Mavui Mefulash through and through, and the city cannot be contained with one Eruv. Beautiful. That's, Rabbis, if you turn around, you'll see that's what they're going to see on YouTube. That's what they see right now on YouTube. We're doing the screen sharing. I'm very, very excited about it. Seriously. It's literally a game changer. He wants to know if he can put the YouTube on the front screen so you can see. Fine. Whatever. It's not for us to see. What? It's not for us. He's just showing me what the Olam is doing. He's doing me a favor through the thing to entertain me. Well, you guys don't see. I'm seeing other pictures. Oh, I'm not telling you every time. There's little jokes going on. Exactly. I've seen the chat once, and I'm happy I don't see it every day. Says the Gemara, neighborhood. Mishum, why? For the fruit that the oxen eat all day. Very interesting. No, you eat a pit, you eat a date, you throw your pit into the bar. I don't know how they had so many pits. Like, it's incredible the amount of pits you need to fill up something the size of the entire mechayzer from through to through. Anyway.
Why do they have a problem with the animals eating those pits? Who wants the pits?
No, other people from outside of the neighborhood. This is for mechayza only. They didn't want people touching that, or they didn't want it to fall over, or maybe they didn't want it to fall over. It was too high. They built a wall to protect the pits. I'm not sure from ganavim, from wind, from it falling over. It was 4 pits. So the Gemara, they built this wall only for storage. It's not considered storage. Says the Gemara, listen to this. This is Mendy Auerbach, one of his favorite lines in Shas. Mendy Auerbach, I learned with him in the morning, especially before Corona. His father is a famous Rav in South Africa. The whole Or Sameach Tshuva movement. He's a model of a chashav balabas. He did diamonds. Now he put his business aside. He learns Torah most of the day. He loves this line. Says the Reish Golos about Rav Papa and Rav Huna. Chachamim heima lahora. They're so smart to do bad. How come they don't use the chachma to make it good for me? In other words, there's some people out there, says the Reish Golos, they knew about this on Friday. They're picking up the sticks on Friday, walking behind Rava. So why don't they ask Rava the Kasha on Friday? They waited until Shabbos, where I can't do my picnic, and then they start, Shabbos, how could you do this? Da-da-da. So the Kavod Mendy, I just want to say a quick story, beautiful story, because the Reish Golos was upset, but maybe it was for his Toyelis, for whatever. So because Mendy is in the mishpacha of Ger Chasidim, he married into Ger, the beautiful mice from Ger. There was a chassid, was a big chassid of the Sfas Emes. Everything Sfas Emes told him to do, he did. And then when the Sfas Emes was nifter, he went to the Imri Emes, and he asked the Imri Emes, what should you do? So the Imri Emes said, invest in this thing. So he took all his money, invested, and he lost all his money. So he said, a Rebbe that makes mistakes is not a Rebbe. That's it. He's done with this Rebbe. He stopped going to him. One day he showed up there. So the Chassidim asked him, what are you doing here? He said, listen, he's not a Rebbe, but he's a son of a Rebbe. He's still a son of a Rebbe. So the Imri Emes heard about this, and he said, listen, why did Korach fight with Moshe Rabbeinu? Why did he make him a machlokes? Because he held that Moshe Rabbeinu made a mistake. Made a mistake with the Meraglim. And a Rebbe that makes a mistake is not a Rebbe. So he decided, but we all know the outcome. Korach ended up in the ground, and Moshe Rabbeinu in Shemayim. So Mela, so you make one mistake, it's not the end of the world. So the Beis Yisrael said about this guy, he says, the Rebbe didn't make a mistake. The Imri Emes didn't make a mistake. Why? Because this fellow had a lot of money. And if he had a lot of money, he would have stuck around Europe. He has big business, he can't just leave. But because he lost all of his money, he picked himself up and ran to Eretz Yisrael. And he was saved from the war. So person doesn't know. Meveis nicht. Person doesn't know. At the end of the day, can't make a picnic there. Okay, fine. Weiter. I don't know if should I say this? It's very sharp though. Don't be upset at me. Okay, fine. I was talking to one of my very good friends who can't get his kid into yeshiva. She was schmoozing, and I said something that a lot of people think in the heart and they don't say, because really you shouldn't say it and I shouldn't say it now. So, okay, let's go weiter. But, okay, so I told him, I said, Lu Yitzuyr chas v'sholom rachman zlan, as a mashal. In 2 months from now, you found out there's a terrorist attack in that yeshiva. You'd say, wow, what a nice that my son didn't get accepted to that yeshiva. So why do you have to kill so many Yidden in order to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing? If that happened, great. And if it didn't happen, it's also great. We just don't see it sometimes. Fine. We learned in the Mishnah that if this karfaf, it wasn't surrounded for residential use. It could be the size of 30 saw, base court, 30 saw, not 2 saw, 30 saw. Says the Gemara Masis in Loike Chananya. But we had in Rabbi Lezer himself. Rabbi Lezer says the Rabbi Lezer said 30. Chananya says the Rabbi Lezer said 40. The Sanya Chananya Oimer Vafilu Arbaim saw Kisrati Shamel, like the backyard of a king, like a castle. They both learned it from one pasuk. The machlokes is 30 or 40. Shenemar. What's going on here? So Here's the final chart. You know, by the way, right now we had about 230 charts in Masechtas Eruvin alone. 230. Masechtas Chulin with all the animals and all, 200 and something pictures. So this is a record breaker, but we're going to have a whole week now come out without any pictures. Here's the pasuk. Vayishayo leyotza chatzar. We read it chatzar. Unbelievable. We read chatzar when it doesn't say ches, doesn't say tzaddik, doesn't say yud. Hayir, it says. The city. So the machlokes says, what is a city? It's telling you that the chatzar of a king is like a city. Right? It's kriya ksiv. It's written this way, we read it this way, and that's the machlokes. Mar sava yoris benunis tavim beis kur. What's a small sized city? 30 sa. Mar sava mem sa having a small sized city is 40. So that's machlokes. What is considered a king's thing? Now, what happened over there? Yeshayahu goes to tell Chizkiyahu that he is going to die. There's no way out of it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made up his mind. What does Chizkiyahu do? I did. You better not make me read something I already read. Now, Yeshayahu made Chizkiyahu, he told Chizkiyahu he's going to die. Chizkiyahu, what did he do? The famous thing, he davened like a machine, like we had the whole singing brachas, and he's able to flip the Gzar Din. Says the Gemara, but before Yeshayahu even knew about it, says the Gemara, Yeshayahu my ba'asim. Why was he in his backyard? Front yard mela. Why in the back? This 40 saw place, 30 saw, massive backyard. Says the Gemara, Omar Rabbi Baruch Chana, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Melama Shecholach Chizkiyahu. He got sick. V'halach Yeshayahu v'hoyshev yeshiva al Pischa. He took a yeshiva, he put a yeshiva by his door. In other words, to prevent the Malach HaMavis from getting into that palace. Unbelievable. Why the back? Why not the front? So the Maharsha says, because Yeshayahu had a nevuah that the Malach HaMavis is coming from the back door, not from the front door. He put it in the back. If you want to save someone, we had it in Masechtas Brachas. If you want to save yourself, you learn Torah. David just kept on learning on Shabbos, and the Malach HaMavis couldn't kill him, and then he made a whole noise. There's another way. You bring a yeshiva, they learn. Says the Gemara of Valav Milsi, it's not true. It doesn't work. Dilma Asili Geruyi Bey Satan. It's interesting. Rashi's first pshat says like maybe the Talmidei Chacham are going to fight with each other. Like in Bismerish, they bicker, they shtech each other. That's going to cause. No, but the Goyer is different in Rashi, that you don't start out with the Satan. You don't, like in the Masechtas Sukkah, you don't shake the lulav, you don't say, oh, in the eyes of the Satan. You don't start up with him. You don't provoke him. Let him be. Like you don't say, oh, you're not coming in here. Oh, if you say you're not coming in, he's going to show you, he's going to come in. He's going to force his way in. So, but over there, they did it because Chizkiyahu is Chizkiyahu. He's a tzaddik and everything else. Yeshayahu, Chizkiyahu, they didn't make a mistake. But us, Talmidei Chacham, us, in the generation of the Amoraim, you don't do it. What's going on here? You have a bunch of chatzeros together. In order to carry from one front yard to the other, the courtyards to the other, you have to make Eruvin chatzeros. Who instituted it? Shlomo HaMelech. So you have to make Eruvin chatzeros. One of the people forgot. Shabbos comes along, too late. You can't do it. What happens? Everybody cannot carry because there's one clown that forgot to make his Eruv. He ruins it for the whole neighborhood. So we have a major problem. Nobody can carry from here to there. And what are they going to do? So we have to say that he's mevatel his rishus. What he could do is on Shai. He can't make an Eruv, but he could say, my property is no longer mine. I'm mevatel my rishus. What was he mevatel? His chotzer. Because they want to carry from chotzer to chotzer. Mevatel the chotzer. What about his house? Machlokes. What happens to his house? After he's mevatel his front yard, does his house automatically become batel or not? Says the Gemara, he cannot, nobody could take in and out of his house. But we just said that at the end of the day, if you do bitul, you could. So returning to Daf Yomi Beis, sponsored Eli Stefansky, Asher says you could choose to make it a great day. And by Dr. Listhouse, ben Aaron. Rabbanon say that if you mevatel your chotzer, it doesn't include your house, and therefore no one can carry into your house. Rabbi Lezer says, and we're going to explain it better, Once I'm mevatel my yard, everything becomes batel, and therefore everybody can carry into my house. Continues Rav Sheshes. Yeah, who's this? Rav Sheshes. Continues Rav Sheshes. Kishetim tzaloymar. These are very important words. What is he saying here? Based on what we just said, you're going to find. Okay, so remember these words. Kishetim tzaloymar. The Divrei Lezer, according to this, very simple halacha, almost identical to what we just said. Hamavat rishus chatzeroi, rishus beisoi bitel. So memela, this we actually did. This is what we're explaining, and we're going to explain more. That was when a person is mevatel his chatzer, he's mevatel his chatzer. He's also mevatel his house as well. He gives everything up. He's mafker everything. Rabbanon hamavat rishus chatzeroi, rishus beisoi loy bitel. According to Chachamim, no, it stops at the chutzner. He gives rishus to everybody to use the chutzner. He doesn't give anybody rishus to use his house. So Mela, they cannot carry into his house. Pshita explains Rashi. Why do you need those words? Kishatim tzaloymar. Big chiddush. According to this, of course, that's exactly what Rabbi Eliezer said. Says the Gemara, Omer Achava, Anover Ravuna Bar Chinan Otar Gemina. This is how he explained it. So, says Rav Sheshes, you see from Rabbi Eliezer a yisoid that whoever is mevatel is ba'ayin yofa mevatel. He's mevatel it. He's large. He's generous. So not only is he mevatel his yard, he's also mevatel his house. So if I'm mevatel my house also, so then I could take this to another step, which is basically the same thing. If I'm mevatel to you, then I'm mevatel to you and you and you. So if I have 5 people, all I have to do is be mevatel to Ruvain and Shimon Levi Yehuda. They all become mevatel to them. Now, what's the big deal? Why do I need to mevatel to them? So take a look at Rashi if you can. It's hard to find. Rashi starts, 9 lines down. But you have to go like 14, 15 lines down into Rashi. It's a very important Rashi. Tell me how you understand this Rashi, because it took me some time this morning to just read it. The afagav the high the batil le irivim chaverei. What does Rashi want there? The afagav the high the batil le irivim chaverei. Even though this person is a vatal, he was. So I think what Rashi wants to say is that why do you need to be mevatel for everybody? Be mevatel your house. You're not a nice guy. Let's say according to Chachamim, ayin ra, you have a bad eye, and you're not generous. So you mevatel only to Reuven and only to Reuven, not to Shimon Levi Yehuda. So great. So I was just mevatel my house to you, and you made an eruv. Imagine that I was mevatel my house to Reuven, and Reuven made an eruv on Erev Shabbos. Says Rashi, that doesn't work. Reuven never had in mind the guy that was mevatel's rishos. He didn't know he's going to get a free property on Shabbos, so he didn't make an eruv for that. Therefore, that guy has to be mevatel for every single one. I think it's a very important Rashi to understand a little bit what's going on here. Why does he have to be mevatel to Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar? Let him just be mevatel to Reuven. Explains Rashi beautifully. Because Reuven didn't make an eruv for it. So even if it became Reuven's property, that's not going to allow everybody to carry from one property to the other. What he has to do is be mevatel and give it over to everybody, to the entire community. I'm giving away my house and my chutzner to the whole community. Camaraderie. It's an MDY community. If you do that, then it's like a guy, and it's a big problem in the thing. By the way, we're only trying to get to the beginning of the parak, so we can start nice and fresh on Matzah Shabbos from a brand new parak. You sing a Matzah Shabbos, Levi? He's making jokes here. It's not important. It's not shtusim. Jokes are not shtusim. Jokes are very important. There were 5 people that were in one chutzner. And one of them didn't make an eruv. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you don't have to go and say, I'm giving over my rishus to each and every one. Why? Because of the concept of ba'ayin yafa mevatel. He's very generous. He gives it automatically to everybody. He's a large guy. And since this person didn't say specifically, I want to give it to Reuven and to Shimon and to Levi, so it's not a good bittul according to Chachamim. You have to say it with your mouth, and we're going to see in a second, does it help if you even say it? And according to this, very easy sugya, now it's just repeating itself. Who does it go? This brayse chamisha sheshruim b'chatzer echad. You have 5 people in one chatzer. Our case, one of them forgot to make an erev. When he gives up his rishus, because he has to, because he wants to, he doesn't want to hurt his friends. He doesn't have to give it over to each and every one individually. Come on, that has to go according to Rabbi Eliezer, like we just said. Rav Kahana Masnahachi, and Rav Kahana says the same exact thing, but he takes it from a different angle. The outcome is identical. This is Rav Kahana who said it exactly like this. Rav Yomi Masnahachi, and Rav Yomi says it from a different angle. 5 that are in one chatzer, and one of them forgot to make an erev. So he should, if he's a nice guy, he should be mafkir his entire property. And when he's mafkir his chatzer, he doesn't have to be mevatel his rishus to each and every one. They asked it as a question and they answered, it's not a diuk. Oh, I could learn from here that Rabbi Eliezer holds that you don't have to be mevatel to each and every one. They asked it as a question and they said it as an answer. Very simple question. Rabbi Eliezer says a person doesn't have to say specifically that he's giving his property over to each and every one, and a person doesn't have to say specifically that if he's mevatel his chotzer, it also includes his house, right? It's very interesting. His house costs $2 million, and his chotzer is worth $10,000. But if he's mevatel and mafkir his chotzer to everybody else, it also, as a side, as a freebie, you get the $2 million mansion. Says the Gemara, very simple question. What if he says specifically, not the house? I'm not including my house. That's it. I only want to give my chotzer. Or according to Chachamim, what if he says specifically, not only am I giving my chotzer, but I'm also giving my house? Could you specify and be specific? I don't want to be mevatel. Time is the Gemara explains. Time the Rebbe Eliezer mishum dekosavar. Is it because Rebbe Eliezer holds on mevatel rishus chatzeroi, rishus beisoy bitel? When I'm mevatel my yard, it includes my house. But this guy said specifically it doesn't include, so it doesn't include. Maybe perhaps the reason of Rebbe Eliezer is you can't live without a yard, unless of course you live in Brooklyn, but that's a different story. So normal people, in-town people, they live with a yard. You out of towners, you think you're the towners, and everybody else, the whole world is Meshuggah. They have yards and backyards, bar park. Yeah, you can have a strip 1 foot wide, and they go and they plant it, and they put those cabbages. They're big into their purple cabbages, shkoyach, in their 1 foot yard. So most people don't live. It says here in the Gemara, Mefurish, they don't live without a yard. We don't care about what he says. He's a meshugana. Well, you can't live without a yard. Mamish nuts. But the Meister Gemara says no. Bar Parkers are right. Not right, but you can live like that. The we disregard its words. It's nothing. And according to Rabbanon, we'll take it to the other case. Rabbanon say it doesn't include his house. When a person says yard, does not include a house. But what if he says, I want to give my yard, my entire house to my friends? Typically, when a person says yard, he does not include a house. But this guy says specifically, I want to give it over. Nobody's nuts that he's going to give up everything. He's going to be left homeless. He gave up his yard and he keeps the house for himself. But and a person that says, I'm giving up everything, you can't trust him. In other words, he's probably trying to do a halachic trick here, trying to give everybody rishus to carry, and the only way to do it is to be mevatel your chotzer in your house. But that's not normal, and he doesn't even mean it, so we can't consider it. Keeping the gale die to gale, at the end of the day, it goes like we probably all thought when we were learning the sugya. It goes by what he wants, by what he thinks, by what he wants. And he says specifically, I want to include my house. It includes the house. And he says, I don't want to include my house. It doesn't include the house. Another thing that Rabbi Eliezer said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer is that for Morer on Pesach, you can use a krabolin. Vines that grow, says the Gemara, Mayak Rabalim, Omer Shlokish, Atzvasa Charziyasa. It's vines that grow, bitter vines that grow around the tree. Everybody else argues. He says, this is what Rabbi Eliezer said. He couldn't find anybody that could corroborate that. Hadron Aloch Oisin Pasin. Hadron Aloch Oisin Pasin. It's a good thing I only thought about it now. Otherwise, the entire paragraph, we think about Rabbi Pessin. Hadron Aloch Oisin Pasin. Rabbi Isai, Motzi Shabbos, Bezer Hashem, 9 o'clock. Note the new time. 9 o'clock, Motzi Shabbos for this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Have a great day. Yishkoyach Ben for sponsorship. Yishkoyach Shia Greenfield for sponsorship. Yishkoyach Anonymous, the guy that everybody knows his father that went to this Menachem Mendel Ben Simcha. Anonymous. Yishkoyach all anonymous people. Yishkoyach a good Shabbos.
Shiur Ma'alos, Mimamakim Kosif.
Shema Elis Mamakim Kosif Adonai.
Adonai Shema B'Klitin Ozach HaKashvos HaKol Tachanonai.
Shema B'Klitin Ozach HaKashvos HaKol.
Im Avanois Tishmaya Adonai Miyamoid. Im Choas Lichol Leman Tivorei. Ki Vizyon Akivsan Nafshi V'Libro Hochalti. Nafshi L'Adonai Mishomim L'Boiker Shomim L'Boiker. Yachel Yisrael Al Adonai Ki Adonai Chesed V'Arbei Moifdus. V'hu Yiftes Tisham Mikol V'nei Sal. Achenu Kabeis Tisham Sim Basar Shivam Debevei Amavei Mavasham Akamei Achamei Nitzim Tzam B'Achmei Shibidog L'Hashpur L'Ozman Kivin Ma'al Amen.
Amen.
David Asher, Ishi Mimira.